The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, hello, everyone. Wow, it's our last webinar of the year, and what a year it has been, hasn't it? We really want to thank you for joining us for yet another online event this year. We really appreciate your support and hope that the information we brought to you through this webinar series was helpful and provided opportunities to connect in different ways. My name is Jannik Garayeb, and I am the Senior Health Education and Engagement Specialist with Brain Tumour Foundation of Canada. And thank you again for joining us today. Our mission is to reach every Canadian affected by a brain tumor through information, education, support, and research. And this webinar series is really just one educational and information program that we offer for those affected by a brain tumor. And as you can imagine, we pivoted with a lot of our programs this year to push a lot of our educational opportunities online. And we will continue to do that into 2021 as we get through this pandemic together. So make sure that you're signed up for our emails. Make sure you're following us on social media so you can get all the updates in the new year. And before we get started, just a few logistics I'd like to go through with people and just a few reminders that everyone has been muted, so there's no background information. If you are having a hard time hearing myself or Todd, just make sure you check the volume levels on your laptop. The webinar is being recorded and will be uploaded probably by Monday or Tuesday, but I will send an email out to everybody who registered, regardless if you're online today. And to ask a question, if you could please just type it into the chat section, and then Todd and I will take up those questions at the end of his presentation. And as always, I'd like to do a few poll questions. So if you can turn your attention to your screen and just let us know who is currently online with us today. And I'll give you a moment to answer that. Are you a patient or survivor, a primary caregiver, a family member, friend, a healthcare professional, or are you a volunteer for Brain Tumour Foundation of Canada? All right. Looks like the majority of you are patients and survivors. Okay. I'll just close that and show that. So Todd, we currently have about 80% are patient and survivors. We have a handful of caregivers, some family members, and a couple of volunteers. Great.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
And then also, how did you hear about us? So was it through a Brain Tumour Foundation of Canada email or newsletter? Was it through social media, a family member or a friend, a search you did online, or were you referred by a healthcare professional? And as always, the majority of you did hear about it through email communications through us, which is great. That means you're already signed up for our emails. Wonderful. Okay, and I just have one fun little question, right? Another poll question in alignment with the topic we have today for the holidays. So of the following holiday films, which genre will you gravitate to this pandemic holiday season? Are you looking for something funny, something family related, like The Family Stone or Home Alone? Are you more of like classics holiday movie goer? Do you like the love and sappy, like Love Actually or The Holiday? The Holiday, I love that movie. It's one of my favorites. Or do you stick to the classic cartoons? And most of you need a good laugh. Yeah, I get that. I really, really get that. So 63% said get a good laugh. Some of you are looking for those family-related movies, some of the classics, some of the cartoons. I get it. Awesome, awesome. Thank you for participating. Really appreciate that. And yeah, so let's get started. I'm going to do a little introduction of my colleague Todd, who has been with Brain Tumour Foundation for 5 years as one of our support services specialists and is a registered social worker, as well as an adjunct professor for King's University College here at Western. One of Todd's favorite sayings is nothing changes if nothing changes. It's so true, Todd. The saying has held true for him over the years, as the Brain Tumour Foundation of Canada is always looking at ways to better support those who have been impacted by a brain tumor. And I thought it would be fun to ask Todd a few fun questions to help introduce him a little bit. And I asked him, what is one thing that has helped you get through the pandemic? And he said that really taking breaks and getting outside into nature has really kept him to stay grounded when things get really stressful. And I also asked him, like, why he decided to become a social worker and what drew him to this line of work. And he said, I always like helping people and I wanted more from life than just to make a living. So at the age of 32, I started night school, then college, and then university. Being a social worker allows him to draw on his personal life, experiences, and vulnerabilities to help others. It's really nice, Todd. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, thank you.
And
great questions.
yeah, and 3 things on your bucket list included own a hobby farm, fun,
Yep.
travel to Iceland, yes, sign me up,
Mhm.
and take an RV across North America post-Trump, yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Had to put that important little
Little
parentheses in
caveat,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
fair. Thanks so
Yeah.
much for joining us today, Todd, and I'm going to let
Well,
you
thanks
take
for
it
having me.
away.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, everybody. And I'm so glad that you took the time today to join us. I do understand it is a busy time of year, but this is an important subject, especially now. When is it too much? And really knowing our limits during the holiday season. I know that Jeanette already mentioned, but here is kind of a visual. If you do have any questions or concerns, or if you need me to slow down, speak up, just put the comments in there, and we'll do our best to get to them as soon as we can. All right. So one of the biggest things about the holidays is knowing our limits of stress, and what are the feelings of stress. You know, during the holiday season, um, this is one of the biggest things that we want to avoid. You know, as our lifestyles get busier and busier, and we're being under constant stress, being under the feeling of constant stress can start to feel normal, and it's often given as a badge of honor, but it can really mess with our mental and physical well-being. There are several telltale signs that you're simply under too much stress, and you may not even realize it. For those, I guess, who like definitions, I guess the official definition is stress is a feeling of emotional and physical tension. It can come up from any event or thought that makes you feel frustrated, angry, nervous. It's your body's reaction to a challenge or demand. So in short bursts, stress can be positive, such as when it helps you avoid danger or meet a deadline. But signs of chronic stress can be damaging to your health, relationships, and mental wellness. So we're just going to go a little bit over the signs of stress, and then we talk about ways how to overcome it. So signs of stress include jaw and tooth pain. I don't know if anyone has ever been grinding their teeth or wear a mouth guard. I do wear a mouth guard at night, but that's a sign of some intense stress. Is whether you know you're realizing it, whether you're realizing you're doing it or not, it can lead to serious pain during the waking hours, or if you wake up, especially if you wake up in the morning and feel that jaw pain, clenching your teeth is definitely a sign of stress. If your memory is shot, as our schedules get more and more packed, it's easy to brush off issues with our memory and forgetfulness, but it's also often a clear sign that you might be too stressed. Whether you're finding it hard to focus, or if you're forgetting things that once came easily to you, you might just feel really just fizzled out. Paying attention to your train of thought or lack thereof can help you determine if you've got too much on your plate or whether you need to scale back a little bit. And this is something that I kind of thought about while I was reading and doing the research, is if you're facing digestive issues. You know, you may not think that your stomach and your brain have much in common, but it turns out that digestive health is very much linked to your stress levels. And too much stress can lead to unpleasant side effects like heartburn, constipation, diarrhea, upset stomach. Sounds like a Pepto-Bismol commercial. I swear you it isn't. But feeling those and having that reaction is a sign of stress. And even if you're, I don't know if you ever go before a presentation or doing something very important, you kind of feel like, oh man, I feel my stomach being upset or flighty. That is all those signs. So those digestive issues, even if your muscles are sore and tense. So we're looking at how I said your jaw is under a ton of stress. Your muscles respond very much the same way, by involuntarily tensing up. And it can lead to a lot of body pain, especially in your neck and shoulders when you're constantly in that fight or flight mode. Actually, your brain releases a stress hormone called cortisol. So in the same way that, you know, as I said, your teeth grinding, you could battle a host of other aches and pains, including the neck and back, like I said, and regular massages help, you know, reduce that amount of pain, but figuring out what is stressful in your life is a sure way to fire back and, you know, avoid that pain. If you're sleeping too much or not at all, if you're under a lot of stress, the first go-to is a night's sleep. You may end up taking any daytime anxieties or worries with you to bed, and your sleep is not going to thank you for that. Your brain knows just how to bring them back to you when you should be getting the sleep that you need. So if it's hard to fall asleep at night, it could be due to stress. But sometimes, on the other side of the coin, what if you're sleeping too much? This could also be a sign that you're dealing with something bigger. So you want a balance in your sleep. You don't want too little and you don't want too much. If you're just sleeping too much and you find yourself suddenly in bed all day, or find it just downright impossible to get out of bed in the morning, you might be experiencing a sign of depression, which can be linked to excess stress. So if that is the case, check with your doctor, who can help you figure out what's going on and get you back to feeling yourself again. We're going to be talking a little bit more about sleep too later, and sleep hygiene. And of course, if there are any questions, just let me know. Another sign of stress is actually, it's having, along the lines of sleep, having weird dreams. Sound sleepers, so people who don't usually are feeling stressed, they rarely report remembering their dreams. And there's a reason why. There's less stimuli in your brain that's responding to at night. The less that you're able to recall your dreams, so you find yourself waking up with vivid dreams or otherwise bad dreams, your brain might be subconsciously working through the things that you haven't dealt with during the daytime hours. And it's during that REM sleep that we believe our most emotional modification takes place. So the most of the stuff that we deal with is through our REM sleep, or the stuff that our brain is dealing with. So your brain might be managing all these difficult, negative, stressful emotions while you're just trying to get some sleep. And if that's happening, it's definitely going to disrupt your sleep. Tension headaches. As we already told you, that carrying around too much stress causes tense muscles, and it can also causes your teeth to clench. Literally, tension headaches and migraines are a common side effect of stress too. So if you are feeling that way, think about, well, what is it? Or if you're getting these tension headaches at a certain time of day or a certain day of the week, kind of be mindful, thinking about, okay, what is it about this day of week or this certain time of day that is making me feel this way? If you're feeling edgy or irritable, let's just face it, too much stress is downright unpleasant. So it's not a secret why you might feel edgy or snippy towards the ones you love. It's all thanks to our wiring and evolution, so that when our bodies are under stress, our brains react and go into survival mode. Stress is really closely related to fear. And when we're scared, we enter into our fight or flight response. This response back in the day, it helped us fight predators, so we didn't have to think about what to do. We'd either fight our way out of it or run. But now when we're in this frame of mind, our ability to rationalize and make decisions are inhibited, and they even turn off. So when we're feeling stressed and edgy and irritable, we're not able to really think about what we want to say to our loved ones, to tell them why we're feeling stressed out or edgy or irritable. And sometimes we just react. So if you just take that few moments to step back and take a deep breath and kind of think about it. Think about what is causing stress. And we'll talk a little bit more too as we get into the presentation. And one of these things too that be really mindful of, if you're taking up risky vices. So lots of us have a cocktail at the end of the day, or a long week, or a glass of wine at night to unwind. But if you find yourself relying on alcohol or drugs or other substances to relieve pressure or stress, this is really heading into a potentially dangerous territory. And substances should never, ever be your go-to way of handling stress. So if that is, please get help. And of course, you can always reach out to one of us. We can direct you to a healthcare professional who can help. And there's more or less, there's just different ways or better ways to cope with stress. And finally, finding new problems in an otherwise happy relationship. If the stress is making you extra snippy, it's no surprise why you might find yourself being short with your significant other, as those closest to us often bear the emotional burden when we're not doing so well. And that's ever true with caregivers too. And I hear it all the time when caregivers call in and say, you know what, my person I'm caring for is angry and upset, and they're lashing out at me. Well, they're lashing out at you because you're the closest person that they know, and you're their safe person, and they're going to let you know. But this kind of stress can have so many detrimental impacts on your relationship, and they're often subtle. So you might not even realize that they're happening. But if you find yourself picking fights for no reason, glazing over when your partner is telling you a story, or looking at your phone instead of connecting with them, or even distancing yourself from your partner, you might be burned out or stressed. And it's a really good idea to let them know how you're feeling and what's upsetting you. So in the next few slides, we're going to go over the ways to limit stress this holiday season. But before I do, Jeanette has a quick poll question, and I'd like to know how you carry your stress.
There it is. It's launched. So how do you
Awesome.
feel
Thank
your
you.
stress, people? Is it in your shoulders and neck? Is it your sleep patterns that are affected? Do you have digestive issues? Oh, little typo there. Sorry. You feel upset or irritable, or you tend to clench your jaw. What do we got
Yeah.
here?
Yeah. And there's so many different ways out there to experience stress too, but those are the top ones.
Yeah. It's definitely a mix that's coming through here. I'll give everybody another second to answer. Okay, so we've got 27% say you feel it in your neck and shoulders, 23% say that it affects your sleep patterns, 8% say digestive issues, 19% say you feel upset or irritable, and 23% clench their jaw.
Definitely a spread. And I'm a jaw clencher myself when I'm under stress, and I can feel it. I feel it in my cheeks and in my jaw. And it's actually during university, I'd wear a mouth guard during the day because of the clenching the jaw. So it's just something to be very mindful of. Yeah. Thanks, Shanik.
No problem.
All right. So what are those things? What are some of those things we can do to help manage stress? And this is one of the biggest things, setting boundaries. So personal boundaries are like guidelines, rules or limits that a person creates to identify what is reasonable behavior, what is safe, and what is permissible ways for other people to behave towards them, and how they will respond when someone passes those limits. So boundaries are essential to healthy relationships and really to a healthy life. Setting and sustaining boundaries is a skill, and unfortunately, it's a skill that many of us don't learn until later in life through experience. And if I can share the notes too for this presentation, because we are going through a lot of information. I didn't want to have a bunch of bullet points on here. I just want you guys just to listen. So please don't write down. If you feel, oh, I got to write that down, I might miss it. I can mail you all my notes in this presentation. So there's no need to madly write any of this information down. So there are many types of boundaries. So there's material boundaries, determining whether you give or lend things such as money, your car, your clothes, your books, food, toothbrush. That's kind of a weird one. You want to set some boundaries on definitely limiting your toothbrush or loaning out your toothbrush. There's physical boundaries, so pertaining to your own personal space, to privacy and body. Do you give a handshake or a hug, and to whom and to when? So these are all boundaries. How do you feel about loud music? How do you feel about locking your door at night? How do you feel about seeing violence on TV? So these are all boundaries that that sometimes we instill in ourselves, and sometimes we instill in our children. So for an example, we didn't let our children watch violent TV or violent movies, and I'm using air quotes here, until they're 12. Right? That's a boundary. Mental boundaries. So applying your thoughts, your values, your opinions. Are you easily suggestible? Do you know what you believe? And can you hold on to your opinions? Can you listen with an open mind to someone else's opinion without becoming rigid? If you become highly emotional, argumentative, or defensive, you may have a weak emotional boundaries. And emotional boundaries are distinguishing between separating your emotions and your responsibilities from them or from someone else's. It's kind of like an imaginary line or force field that separates you and others. Healthy boundaries prevent you from giving advice, from blaming, or accepting blame. They protect you from feeling guilty for someone else's negative feelings or problems, and taking others' comments personally. Highly reactivity suggests weak emotional boundaries, and healthy emotional boundaries require clear internal boundaries and knowing your feelings and your responsibilities to yourself and to others. And there's other different boundaries too. There's sexual boundaries, so protect the comfort level with sexual touch and activity. The what, where, with whom, and when. Spiritual boundaries relate to your beliefs and your experiences in connection with a God or higher powers. So the important thing is how do you maintain those boundaries? Well, first things you have to do is you have to know your limit. You can't set good boundaries if you're unsure of where you stand. So you identify your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual limits. Consider what you can tolerate and accept, and what makes you feel uncomfortable or stressed. Those things help us identify where our limits are. Tune into your feelings. There are two feelings that we experience when we're letting go of our boundaries, or someone has crossed over our boundaries. We feel discomfort, or we feel resentment. When interacting with a person who has may crossed our boundaries, of what we find acceptable versus unacceptable behavior, ask yourself, what is causing this feeling? What is it about this interaction or the person's expectation that is bothering me? And if you don't feel threatened, take some time to reflect on what you're feeling. Resentment usually comes from being taken advantage of or not appreciated. And it's often a sign that we're pushing ourselves either beyond our own limits because we feel guilty, as we want to be a good son or a good partner, for instance, or someone else is imposing their expectations, views, or values on us. Remember, when you are feeling angry or stressed, you may just go into flight or fight mode, and you may say something you later regret. So it's really important to, if you are feeling upset or angry, take the time out. Just say, you know what, I don't know what to say right now because I am feeling angry and upset. Can you give me just 15 minutes just to settle down, because I don't want to say something that I'm later going to regret, and I'll come back to you. Be direct. If you don't feel angry, but don't feel angry, but more curious on what happened. Perhaps some sort of miscommunication or misunderstanding has happened, and then it's okay, and be direct and ask. With some people, maintaining healthy boundaries doesn't require a direct or clear-cut dialogue. Usually this is the case if people are similar in their communication styles as us, similar views or personalities and general approach to life. We kind of approach each other similarly. With others, such as those who we have a different personality to or different cultural background, we may need to be a little more direct about our boundaries. But remember, what we define as normal behavior or even healthy boundaries, it's subjective. It's subjective to our own experiences and our own upbringing, and it will differ from individuals to individuals. So that's why it's really good to kind of sit with it for a bit and kind of think about and reflect why you're feeling resentful or why you're feeling upset. Consider your past and present. So how you were raised with your role in your family can become additional obstacles in setting and preserving boundaries. If you held the role of caretaker and you learned to focus on others and letting yourself be drained and emotionally or physically and ignoring your own needs, that might have become the norm for you and the expectations of others. If this is your identity, it will take some time, as well as some kind of heart-to-heart conversations with those family members to instill and reinforce your boundaries. But remind yourself that you are doing this to take care of your own needs and to live a happier and healthier and more fulfilled life. And this kind of goes along with working from home, because we are in the age of COVID too, and setting boundaries around work schedule is also important. I have a colleague, and he's a good friend, and I noticed when he emailed me the other day, it said in his email signature that I aspire to and respect a healthy work-life balance. And I don't expect a reply to this email from your outside of your working hours. So that's saying a few things, right? That's saying not only am I not going to respond to your emails outside of my working hours, but I'm going to respect yours as well. And I'm hoping that you are respecting your own working hours and taking care of yourself. So I just thought that was a really good quote. Give yourself permission. We might fear that the other person's response if we set and enforce our boundaries. We might feel guilt by speaking up or saying no to a family member. Many believe that they should be able to cope with the situation and say yes because they're a good son or daughter, or even though they feel drained or taken advantage of. We might wonder even if we deserve to have boundaries in the first place. Boundaries aren't just a sign of a healthy relationship, they're a sign of self-respect. So give yourself the permission to set boundaries and work to preserve them. And practice self-awareness. This is one of the biggest things. Boundaries are all about honing in on your feelings and honoring them. If you notice yourself slipping or not sustaining your boundaries, ask yourself, what's changed? And consider, what am I doing, or what is the other person doing? Or what is the situation that is making me feel this response, this stress response, or making me feel resentful? And then mull over your options. What am I going to do about this situation, and what do I have control over? And just to review too, the anger is often a signal that action is required. If you feel resentful or victimized and are blaming someone or something, it might mean that you haven't been setting boundaries. If you feel anxious or guilty about setting boundaries, remember, your relationship suffers when you're unhappy. Once you get in the practice of setting boundaries, you will feel more empowered, and you'll suffer less anxiety, less resentment, and less guilt. Generally, you'll receive more respect from others, and your relationships will improve. There is an art to setting boundaries, and if it's done in anger or done by nagging the person, you won't really be heard. Boundaries aren't meant to be punished. They're not meant to punish someone or as a punishing behavior, but it's meant to protect your well-being. They're more effective when you're assertive, when you're calm and firm and courteous. You don't have to hurt someone's feelings in order to protect your boundaries. And if that doesn't work, you may need to communicate the consequences to encourage compliance. And it is essential, however, that you never threaten a consequence unless you're fully prepared to carry it out. So as a quick example, like COVID, like there is so much going on with social distancing and making sure that we're all staying in our bubble. If you have family members that are going out of their bubble and seeing whoever and attending social gatherings, if you have boundaries in place saying, you know what, like you are part of my social bubble and I'm part of yours, and we don't see other people. And if you choose to do that, you're going to be out of my social bubble, and therefore I'm not going to be able to see you for Christmas. So it's just more or less giving them the responsibility of saying, you know, like you have the ability to go over my boundaries or my limits that I have in place, but you have to live up to what those consequences are. Yeah, so that's just really a short kind of 101 boundaries. Boundaries 101, I guess, is the correct classroom term. And like I said before, if there are any questions or concerns, just go ahead and label it in the chat. But I will also be sure to mail you my notes or to send you our notes so you have that. All right, avoiding family conflict. So another thing to hopefully help reduce stress. So I don't know, but I have some family members who tend to be opinionated. They're rigid in thinking. Some are suspicious without cause and unyielding, or just plain defiant and seeming to enjoy conflict, even at the expense of our family harmony. There's some that have a short fuse and they display intense angers, or some family members that just by visiting with them, it makes me feel less happy or less fulfilled, or even emotionally drained. Families can be complicated, right? And we all come with baggage. There's no doubt. There are countless triggers, such as tension between siblings, emotional attachments, different personality types, or generational beliefs that can turn even the calmest family gathering into something kind of less joyful. So if we're going to be spending a lot of time with our family, I think the best way to avoid major meltdowns around the holiday table this year is to devise a peace plan. And holiday table, I'm kind of using that in air quotations because I know some of our holiday plans are going to be virtual, but this peace plan can also is also good for our immediate family members as well. So here are a few suggestions that help you navigate through tough conversations and kind of help stay cool when opinions do clash. So if you are having a family gathering, before the family gathering, clearly state the rules up front. The proactive approach is to avert the issue ahead of time. So let's say if one of your rules is, like, I just really want to enjoy everyone's time today or the dinner tonight, I want to just request that we don't talk politics. And of course, this can be easier said than done. Some people may choose to stir the pot anyway, but in this case, you do your best to kind of quell the conflict before it even starts. And if it does start, do your best to change the subject. If they go on about, let's say, politics, listen actively and mindfully. If things do get heated, stop, take a breath, and calmly remind them that, we all agreed that we would not talk about politics or COVID or work, and just ensure that your body language reflects a collaborative tone. So that means, like, don't keep your arms crossed, don't stare at them and keep an intense eye contact. Do your best to remain sincere. And just say, I really just want to enjoy this time together without all these distractions, and just celebrate this season with my family, with those who I love. And empathize too. You don't have to agree with the person to empathize with them, but you do need to listen. Often in times, especially in family debates, we don't actually listen to the person. We're just waiting for our time to speak. So if you can come to understand their and respect their viewpoint, even if it is vastly different of your own, you can say things like, you know what, I can understand why you feel that way, or I'm so sorry this has affected you this way. And the goal is just to come together and say what needs to be said so the other person feels valued and respected and can actually hear the message. And if that doesn't work, you can try and defer the conversation. Again, remind your guests calmly and respectfully, the holidays are just not a time or place for this conversation. It's meant to be a time of reconnecting and renewal. If it's getting heated and emotionally charged, just try saying something like, I'm just going to ask that we defer this conversation again. We're here just to spend time together and enjoy each other's company. And if that doesn't work, heaven forbid, just take the higher ground. A conflict cannot survive without your participation. Just think about that statement. A conflict cannot survive without your participation. No one ever changes their minds or comes to understand another by being interrupted, insulted, or belittled. The secret is just to keep your composure and say things like, I respectfully disagree, and continue to divert the conversation to a safer topic. So you know what, like I respectfully disagree with your views on COVID and mask wearing. Let's talk about something else. What is your favorite Christmas movie, or something that's lighter and provides a little less conflict. And this is a really good a good what's that word? Anyways, it's a good way of thinking, and I'm sure there's another word for it, but it's focus on what you control. Philosophy, I guess. It's focus on what you control. When it comes to family gatherings, the weather, or COVID, there's things that we can control about that stuff and things we can't. There's only two things on this planet that we can control, and that's our thoughts and our actions. That's it. We can't control what your parents are going to say around the dinner table, or how you can't control your kids' attitudes, but you can choose to let go of what you can't control. You'll automatically reduce the stress in your life by refusing to carry other people's problems. When I'm feeling overwhelmed and stressed in the morning, the first thing I do is I make a list of what I'm stressed about. So I write down the things that I'm stressed about, and then I look at the things that I can control. And the things that I can't control, I cross it out, and that's it. They're done. So I take control and ownership over the thoughts and actions, and I do what's best for me, for my partner, and for my family. So that's the biggest thing too. And it's kind of hard this year too, because holidays, like especially around Christmas and the holiday season, it sometimes brings up feelings of loss. If you suffered a loss this year, and a loss can not only mean like a death in the family or loss of a family member, but it can also mean loss of employment, or the loss of not feeling connected to your friends and family because we are going to be separated by COVID. The holidays might be extra hard. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that they're going to be terrible and they're going to suck and I'm just going to ignore it. No, it just means that they're going to be different. And speaking personally, and I don't know how many of you know, but I lost my dad this year. My dad had pancreatic cancer. I lost him in June, and this is what my partner said to me to ensure that my Christmas, even though it's gonna be different and it's gonna be harder. This is what she did, and I just really want to take some time just to go over this. And she says, what do you need from me? I know this Christmas is going to be hard for you, but what do you need from me to make it okay, or to make it bearable? What would make this Christmas special for you? So just taking those things and that really showed me that my partner really loves and cares and values for me, because she's putting my needs there, and she's empathizing. She's sitting down in that and just really saying, hey, I know that this is going to be hard, and I'm here, and I want to help. So what is it that I can do to make things easier? And God bless her. I sometimes, and she knows this, and she's downstairs and she can't hear me right now, but sometimes I do get angry and upset. And she's a social worker, so she knows that I'm not angry and upset at her. So she knows that I'm angry and upset because I might feel anxiety about not having my dad for Christmas. I might feel a little bit of guilt or helplessness, or I might even feel grief, right? So if you are feeling those things, set the emotional tone in your home, and it's okay to feel sad. and to cry, because people are going to know. Our loved ones already know that what we're feeling, and it's up to them, and it's up to us to let them know that these feelings are okay, and they're okay to express, and that it's okay to be sad. I know if a family member is angry, and I'm not saying me anymore, sorry, and I'm just saying, well, if a family member is angry, and I'm using air quotes, it's okay to ask, right? And try saying something in a supportive way. You know, like, I know you're going through a hard time. If you're angry or feeling sad, it's okay to let me know. And I am here, and I want to be a part of what you're feeling. And really listen to what is making them upset. Don't fix it. Don't give advice. Don't compare losses. There's so many times when my wife goes to me and just says, you know, I've had a bad day, or you know, I've had a real hard case, and I just need you to listen. I don't need you to fix it. I don't need you to do anything. I just need you to listen and just acknowledge that you heard me, and that's it. That's 90% of the issues that we deal with in our house is, you know, like, that's the, sorry, 90% of the issues. That's 90% of the support that I give to my partner or to my family members. I can't fix everything, and I don't know how to fix everything, but I know how to listen. So listen to them. Don't give advice. And just say something like, you know, thanks for sharing this with me. You know, I know I can't fix this, but I appreciate you letting me in and letting me know how you're feeling, right? Set that emotional tone in your home. If you have gone through a loss, and I mean loss of employment, loss of a loved one, loss of job, or not being able to connect with family, your family members are already going to know, right? And being the parents or the head figures of your family, they may be looking for you to see what is right and wrong. You know, what kind of emotions is right to express, and what kind of emotions do I have to push down? Well, we don't want to push down those feelings of loss and sadness, because those are valid feelings, right? Especially going through hard times, and it's okay to express those feelings. I remember I was talking to my brother, and he said, oh, this was about 6 months ago. So this is when my dad first passed away. He goes, you know, this is the first time I cried in front of my kids. And I said, that's, you know, I'm glad you did. He goes, why? It was embarrassing. I said, no, you're letting him know that it's okay to express that loss. You just lost your dad, you know, and that's okay. How would you feel if they didn't cry when your time here is done? So do yourself a favor and set that emotional tone, and really let your loved ones know that it's okay. If you're not having a perfect Christmas, it's okay to let them know. How to say no. This is a big one too. Wouldn't it be, how much easier would it be if this holiday season, if you could just say no? You know, try saying no to the holiday expectations, and don't reflect your values, or that causes you unneeded stress and anxiety. So say no to overcommitting. There are a lot of demands on your time during the holidays, whether it's, you know, online shopping, or even going into the malls before things get shut down. I heard in Windsor they're crazy busy. That would have caused a huge amount of stress. The baking, the cooking, the entertaining, the volunteering, all those, you know, virtual commitments that we're going to be doing this holiday season. If you don't enjoy them, you know what, it's okay to say no. If we don't monitor our calendars and our energy levels, you know, it's easy to take on way too much. Even if you enjoy most of those activities, you can't probably do them all and still take good care of your physical and emotional health. So try to remember that, you know, we have a finite amount of time. So when you say yes to one thing during this holiday season, you're probably saying no to something else. And probably that something else is self-care. You know, you cannot be everywhere at once. So really be honest with yourself about what you can handle, and speak up if it's too much. Prioritize your family's time, and only commit to the things that you really want to do. It's about quality time, not quantity. So say no trying to create a perfect holiday. It just doesn't exist. The holidays aren't about a perfectly decorated house, or a perfect photo of your holiday cards, or having a perfectly behaved children, and trying to be everywhere at once and get everything at once, and having such high expectations. It just takes the fun out of holidays. It can leave us tired, it can leave us irritable, and unpleasant to be around. So this year, be flexible and set more realistic expectations, and just say no to the perfect holiday. Say no to overspending. Do you ever get caught up in buying just one more thing and one more perfect gift? Yeah, this can be satisfying at the moment, but it's not a great feeling when those bills show up in January. So to avoid overspending, you might want to create a budget and really stick to it. Make your purchases with cash or debit rather than credit cards, and keep gifts to a minimum, right? Or choose a homemade gift or notes of gratitude instead. Those are the gifts that I really enjoyed from my kids over the years, and they still do. You know, they still bring me joy. My partner and I, we just exchange a book. That's all we exchange this holiday, and we just write in the cover of what we really enjoyed from each other the previous year and what we're looking forward to. So say no to the things that don't fill you with joy. Holidays revolve around traditions, which mean we tend to celebrate the same way year after year, but ask yourself, are you really enjoying these holiday traditions? Or are you doing these things simply because that's the way they've always done them? You know, traditions are negotiable, right? And we often need to adjust these traditions along, you know, with our circumstances. So of course, traditions this year are going to be different. So have a conversation with your family and find out what's important traditions, and spend time on the ones that are really bringing you joy, and say no to all the other ones. Say no to self-criticism. Self-criticism is never, ever helpful, and it certainly doesn't reflect the true meaning of the holidays. So why is it so hard to forgive ourselves when we make mistakes? Why do we expect ourselves to be perfect, even though we know logically that everyone makes mistakes, and we often hold ourselves to unrealistic standards? Perhaps we think our mistakes are worse than everyone else's, and it's unfair and unkind to treat ourselves this way. You know what? It doesn't motivate us to help us learn. So when I catch myself in self-criticism, I remember that I deserve compassion just as much as anyone else. And I think and I remember about how would I treat my best friend? If my best friend made the same mistake, what would I say to them? And that's what I'll hopefully give the message to myself when I'm making that mistake. Say no to worrying about everyone else's opinions. So when you choose to celebrate or not to celebrate the holidays on your own terms, some people may get upset or may simply not understand your choices. And that doesn't mean that your choices are wrong. We all need to do what's right for us, especially in these times. So the key to letting go of this worry is to figure out whose opinion really matters to you. We should, of course, care about, but not necessarily concede to, the opinions of our closest loved ones, like my partner and our children and those in our immediate family. But the problem is we often go through life caring equally about what everyone thinks. People don't get equal opinions, right? Your partner opinion should have way more sway over than your third cousin twice removed. And in the year of COVID too, plans are going to change. So you know, it's okay to say no if you don't feel like visiting someone's house, or you don't feel like leaving the house, or you can use something virtually like Google Hangout. Limiting your time on social media. There is a huge amount of information out there, and much of it is nonsense, and sometimes it's just grim news, right? Not only do we see it on our TVs, but now we're seeing it through our social media feeds, and it's really hard to sometimes escape this. So if you hear anything, hear this: stay off social media if you're stressed, or if you want to reduce stress, just take a break for the holidays. Those perfect Instagram pictures or Pinterest feeds won't do anything but cause you to compare what your holiday plans are to your coworker or to your third cousin who you really don't like anyway. Social media pictures, they're generally lies. No, they're fantasy. They're not real. No one ever shows the burned turkey or the family fights or the piling amount of credit card debt. No one shows that. That's just like, oh, this is the projection that I want to see, or that I want the world to see, and it's not real. So this Christmas, spend more time with your loved ones. You know, stare at them and instead of the screens. You know, hold hands with them instead of holding game controllers. Throw a football around, kick a soccer ball, do things out in real life, get into the woods. Choose human connection, choose joy and laughter over the thumbs ups and retweets, because those things, they don't matter. They have an off button. So use it and take a break and make a pledge to your family and to the ones that you're sharing, you know, the holiday with, that, hey, you know, we're going to spend the next 3 to 4 hours together. Everyone put their cell phone in this basket, and then, you know, you can come get the cell phone after 4 hours. That being said, though, if you need to stay connected to anyone who has a chronic healthcare concern or anything like that, or babysitter or something like that, you know, that's a little different. You know, you need to stay connected if there's an emergency. But other than that, stay off social media. Like, I remember I was out at a restaurant the other day at Garlic's before we've had these high number of COVIDs, and I just noticed this couple, they're on their phones the whole time, and they didn't speak to each other. You know, so really, just kind of just step back and just gain an understanding of how much your phone impacts your life. There's also really cool apps or ways that you can tell how much time you're spending on your phone during a day or even during a week, and you'd be blown away how many hours you're spent on some of these applications. So they're engineered to keep you engaged and to keep your attention. Do what you can to back away from that. Picture the holidays you want to have. Now, this is the perfect year to kind of reset. So set expectations for yourself and others by painting a picture of what you want for Christmas and how you want it to look like. You know, like, think about who is sitting around the table at mealtime. You know, who are you eating with? What are you talking about? You know, are you laughing with your kids? You know, are you making a big breakfast, or are you holding your hands with your spouse, or around the fire, or putting on some old vinyl on the record player? Whatever it is, you know, picture what you want, and keep that picture in the front of your mind, and share your picture with the loved ones so they can understand where you're coming from and what you'd like them to have for Christmas. Ask them what they want. Say, well, this is my picture for Christmas. What would you want? So you can also choose to honor them and their wishes as well. And if something comes up that threatens to take the place of what's truly important to you and your family, give yourself permission to say no. You know, let your calendar and your to-do list reflect the Christmas you actually want to have this year. You know, like, make sure you book that time away, and keep that time sacred. So if you're having you know, one-on-one time with your spouse, nothing is going to interrupt that time. If you're having a family meal, nothing is interrupting that time. Nothing is going to take that away. So as I mentioned earlier, sleep. So sleep is huge, especially when you're not sleeping. You know, your brain emotional centers can become overactive, and it really raises anxiety levels. So instead of staying up late for the third night in a row and binging on those Hallmark movies, prioritize your sleep. You know, not only will it keep your stress and anxiety at bay, but it also help with your immune system staying healthy. The first thing we do on holidays is we sleep in and we stay up late. Well, you know, practicing a good sleep regime will help you stay, you know, less stressed, less anxious, and like I said, it'll keep you healthy. And if you're not sleeping well, there's this buzzword, and this thing is called sleep hygiene, and I do buy into it. So those who don't know, sleep hygiene, it's a variety of different practices that are necessary to have a normal quality nighttime sleep. And if you have a normal nighttime quality sleep, well, you're going to be alert in the day, and you're going to feel good. So what are some of the good examples of good sleep hygiene? Is, well, first, try to avoid napping during the day. It can disturb your normal pattern of sleep and wakefulness. And I know it's hard around, after lunch, you're just sitting there in your chair and you've had a good lunch and you feel that dozing coming on. Have a tea, or get up and do some stretches, or do some jumping jacks, something to get your heart going again. Don't have a nap. Avoid stimulants like caffeine, nicotine, alcohol too close to bedtime. While alcohol is known to speed the onset of sleep, it actually disrupts sleep in the second half as the body begins to metabolize the alcohol, and it wakes up. I don't know, for all those who have ever had one night with too many spirits, it's happened to me, where, you know, you're easy to go to bed, go to sleep, but you're up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, it's actually a stimulant. And once your body begins to metabolize it, it's going to wake you up. Exercise. Exercise can promote, or does promote, good sleep. Vigorous exercise should be taken in the morning or late afternoon. You do not want to do exercise right before bed because it'll stimulate you. But you can do a relaxing exercise like yoga, because that'll help initiate a good night's sleep. It's just kind of just stretching, easy stretching, and kind of getting ready for a good night's sleep. Food can be really disruptive right before sleep. So stay away from large meals close to bedtime. Any kind of dietary changes can cause sleep problems. And if someone's struggling with a sleep problem, it's probably not a good time to experiment with spicy dishes. And remember, chocolate has caffeine too, so stay away from any kind of food that may have caffeine in it, or anything with spice, because it sometimes can keep you awake. Ensure adequate exposure to natural light. This is particularly important for older adults who may not venture outside as frequently as children and adults. Light exposure helps maintain a healthy sleep cycle, especially in days like today, where the sun is rising at what, 7:30, 7:45, and it sets, geez, it feels like it's setting at 4, but I imagine it's about 4:45. Try and get outside and take some vitamin D. And if you can't, or if you're feeling yourself kind of feeling off, and of course ask your healthcare professional first, but vitamin D helps with that feeling too, because there is such thing as seasonal affective disorder, and vitamin D does help. Establish a regular, relaxing bedtime routine. So one of the things you want to kind of try to avoid before going to bed is getting an emotionally upsetting conversation with your partner, or activities, or any kind of activities that are really inducing a response, like video games or an exciting movie. Those things are really hard to fall asleep afterwards, because you have those feelings of excitement, and especially the TV is a light that will not help you go to sleep. Actually, the TV will actually keep you up at night. And I've heard people all the time, "Oh, TVs help me sleep." They don't help you sleep. The light, scientific studies have shown that having a TV actually in your room is not a good idea. When I was doing my previous practice, I was helping youth who were in the criminal justice system. And a lot of these youth, they had terrible sleep habits. They'd be up to 2, 3 in the morning, and then they'd be sleeping until 12, 1 in the afternoon. And that was my first question: what's in the bedroom? You don't want video games. You don't want a TV. You can read in the bed, and that's okay, because it'll help you asleep, but all that other stuff you don't want. You need to associate your bedroom with sleep. And that's all you should be doing. You shouldn't be watching TV. You shouldn't be having any sort of electronic entertainment. It should be just associated with sleep and with sex, to be honest with you. Those are the only 2 things that your bedroom should be used for. Make sure that your sleep environment is pleasant and relaxing. The bedroom should be comfortable. The bed should be comfortable. The room should not be too hot or too cold or too bright, too stimulating, right? All these things will help you will keep you up. So it is really important to practice a good sleep hygiene. And the earlier you can start, especially if you can instill these values in your children, it's a great practice to have, and can prevent the development of sleep problems and disorders. So how does someone know if they're having a poor sleep hygiene, or if they're having sleep disturbances? Well, sleeplessness is the most telltale signs, right? If you're tired, man, if you're tired 3 hours after you get up, you're probably experiencing a sleep problem, like something like sleep apnea. And you should have someone have a healthcare professional evaluate your sleep. It may take some time to have the positive effects, but you know what? Developing and maintaining a good pattern of sleep will help. Will help you not only with not being tired during the day, but it's also a healthier lifestyle. So it is worth the time revising your sleep habits and maintaining a regular sleep-wake schedule throughout the week. And on the weekend too, it's best to keep that routine. And as I said, before, like all the holidays, people kind of have their sleep routines all over the place. It's always best to go to bed the same time every night and wake up the same time every morning. Now I don't even have to set my alarm. I know that I'm going to get up at 7:30. Just because it's my circadian rhythm, and I've been getting up at 7:30 since March. I was getting up a little earlier when I was traveling for work, but now I let myself sleep in just 30 minutes later. So I hope that's the sleep and sleep hygiene. If there are any questions, just let me know. I hope we're doing okay for time. I haven't looked at time lately. Okay, protect your downtime. So I'm going to rush through these because, yeah, we're getting near the end. This is a season of giving, but don't give too much of yourself away that you have nothing left to give, right? Keep your peace and quiet and keep your sanity. Make time to enjoy the things you love. Read a book. Dive into some of your favorite Christmas time movies that will put you into the holiday spirit. You know, keep your joy intact and create some breathing room between activities and festival events. And like I said, try to stick to your normal routine. 2020 is the year of canceled plans. We all know what it's like to be disappointed. We've had canceled vacations, canceled family gatherings, birthday parties. Some of us have even had canceled paychecks and other important events canceled. As we get into the holiday season, you know, we probably are going to be facing more canceled plans because we are seeing the number of COVID cases rise. Maybe the annual Christmas adventure at your parents' or grandparents isn't going to happen this year. But just remember, we're doing this because we want to keep our family safe. So whatever you're going through this Christmas, it's important to reset your expectations. Give your family and friends grace. Let them off the hook, because these circumstances that we're going through right now with COVID, they're not normal, and we haven't never gone through this before. So be kind to yourself and be kind to your family and friends. And this Christmas, make connection the #1 priority. And people. Christmas time is meant to be filled with joy and thankfulness and lingering conversations over the dinner table with lots of laughter. But that connection, it doesn't happen by accident. Be intentional with your plans. Be intentional with wanting to reach out to your loved ones and let them know how much you love and appreciate and how much joy they bring to your life. Don't let this month go by in a blur. Slow down and think about what you really want to do this Christmas season or this holiday season. Don't get caught up in the hustle and bustle that you forget to enjoy the people that you're doing this for. That is what matters, is the relationships that we have and the people that surround us that bring us the most joy. Bam. Thank you very much, everybody. Huh? How was that?
That
I
was
think I did pretty good. Yeah.
great, Todd.
3 minutes. 3 minutes left.
Good job. I just saw one kind of question come through, so we'll give everybody maybe a minute to type in their questions.
Yeah,
But
I'm in no hurry.
yeah,
But yeah.
one of the questions that came through was if you have any tips around, you know, if you're trying to set a boundary with someone and they try to guilt trip you, which this has personally happened to me in the past. So do you have any tips or suggestions on how to handle that?
And I think there's a few things. One, has this person done this before in the past, right? Because they might be looking at old behaviors. You may not have set your boundaries as well as you could have in the past, and you let your friend kind of step over these boundaries before. So they're just using past experience that, oh, you know, like, even though Todd says he doesn't let anyone drive his car, he has let me drive his car in the past, and maybe he'll let me do it again. So think about that, and if that's not the case, just really think, you know what, I know, and it kind of depends what it is. So I'm going to use the experience of the car boundaries. So let's say if I don't want to lend anyone my car, and I've lent this person the car in the past, I'm just going to say, you know what, I know that you need to borrow a car, but you know, I made a promise to myself that I decided not to let anyone borrow the car any longer, just because I find it really hard. Because I don't want to say hard, but I just worry what's going to happen if I lend someone my car or something breaks, and I just don't want to see anything happen to you like that. So I hope it's okay that this time that I don't let you lend the car, or I'm not going to let you lend the car out to you. It's just really being firm but kind, right? It's like, you know what, I made a decision that, you know, I'm not doing this year, or I'm not doing whatever it is that they're guilt tripping in this year. And this is a decision that I really made a promise to myself that I would keep. And I just hope that we have enough respect in our friendship that you're going to respect what, you know, my decision.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I don't know who asked that, but if there is something that you want to chat about more, give me an email, and we can talk through this stuff together. Because sometimes boundaries are hard, right? Boundaries are sometimes hard to keep in place, especially if we haven't set them before. So if you want to connect with me, you have my email up there, and we can talk through this together and kind of get a better sense.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Todd. Another question that came through was, should you tell your family or friends of illness during the holidays versus letting them enjoy their holidays? What are your thoughts on that? I mean, can I just say what my initial thought is?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I would say my initial thought is that if you are the person who has been diagnosed and you're needing support, then I think it's really important to reach out to friends and family. But
I
it's
like
also comfort levels too, right?
Yeah. What is it do you need, right? So it's up to you, because you don't want to support your friend because you're the one who's needing support. So decide who you want to let those people know. If you're going to let a friend know and you know that you're not going to get much support, or you're just going to an empty well of support, I wouldn't let them know. But if you, I like your answer, Nick. If you're looking for support, let those loved ones know, right? That are going to support you and that are going to help you through this time. To let them know, just say, hey, just as a heads up, I don't mean to damper the holiday, and trust me, you're not going to. I'll just say, but I've had some bad news, or I've had some hard news that I just really want to share with you, because you're really important to me, and I could really use your support.
Yeah.
So choose carefully who you wish to tell, because you want that support, right? You want that help. Yeah, great question. Both great questions.
Yeah, really great questions. And if anybody else has any other questions, feel free to email Todd or myself, and we will definitely get back to you. We, as I mentioned earlier, this presentation was recorded. We'll have it up on the website probably by early next week, the latest. And once that is up, I always send an email to everyone who registered, regardless of who was able to join us today. And I just wanted to point out a couple things before we sign off, that we have a fundraising campaign right now called the Constellation of Hope. So we encourage people to check that out on our page. And when you make a donation, you also have an option to send an e-card to send to someone. So that's really fun and creative. Something that you can do. You can send a message of hope to someone. The other thing I want to mention is that we will be bringing the webinar series back in 2021. The only difference is that instead of a 12-month series, we're doing a 9-month series. But we're going to have 2 presenters per webinar next year. So the first presentation of each webinar will be like an educational type presentation on treatments or research or quality of life topics. And every single webinar will have one personal story of hope from a patient or a caregiver. So we're really excited. So even though there's going to be only 9 webinars, we're booking 18 presenters for you guys next year. And all of those will be recorded as well. And of course, because of the pandemic, we will continue to offer as much support and information and education on our website and through our social media and through our emails. So definitely sign up for those. And just a reminder that as soon as we close out of this, webinar, a survey is going to pop up. So please just take literally 1 minute to fill that out. And that really helps us to plan for the future and future webinars. And we really love hearing from all of you and your feedback. So I'm just going to double check to make sure there's no other questions, Todd.
Okay.
Lots of great positive comments from people saying they loved this presentation.
Great.
They loved the pictures of the animals that we included. Yay.
That was all Jeanette, everybody. Jeanette is amazing at finding the right pictures to fit the right moments. So thank you so much, Jeanette, for doing that.
With everything everybody's gone through, I mean, we need to see some pictures of puppers and kittens, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I really appreciate everybody joining us today. And I really hope you found this information helpful. And like I said before, we will email you the notes and the PowerPoint so you have this information to refer back to.
Perfect. Thanks again, Todd, for sharing your knowledge and expertise with us. And happy holidays, everyone. Be well, be safe.
Yeah.
We'll get through
Happy
this.
holidays. We will. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.